Yes. Oh gosh. All right. Let me know when we're live, and then I'll start. Okay, we're good? Awesome. Hey everyone. Chitrakoot side, welcome. We have a good arrangement today to be able to connect with you as well. So let's start with our opening prayers. And then I'm going to give a brief introduction context because we are shifting thought process now in our as we're working our way through the book. So I'll introduce that section. And then today we're going to be looking at chapter called Harmony and Poise. And if we have time, maybe we will also end up reaching into the chapter called Science and Religion. So as we get into those sections, I will have a little bit of reading, I'll have questions and a discussion, and I would like you to contribute. As the questions are there, this is a new thing we're going to try right now. We will have Chitrakoot teachers on the phone with one of our ammas here. So when I ask a question, I'll first take answers from Saket so that everyone will have time, and then I will ask for any responses from Chitrakoot. So that way we can now have both offline, online sessions contributing and working together. So bear with me, have some patience as we work through the mechanics of all of this. So with that, let's start with opening prayers. 3 ohms. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om shanti shanti shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right. So, like I mentioned, let me give context again. I'm studying out of the book called Art of Living, and this is the old version that has stopped its publication, but the same content has now been given in the book called Kindle Life. And the chapters are just a little bit rearranged in that book. So they are the same content, just a little bit different. And the ending portions, they have a little extra stuff in that book as well. So in this book, today, we had been seeing the inner workings of the human mind, right? So we had first seen when dealing with life circumstances, we had prarabdha versus our karma, and how do I resolve the two, right? That it's yes, please. I think Ramesh Melkortiji, I think? Yeah. Give us a second. Let's make sure we're connected. We're online with them. Then we'll continue.
We started class, so I'm putting you...
Yes, okay, we're almost there.
Yes. This is just to get the call started.
Yes, we just wanted to get online with them. All right, give us a minute as well. Hariom.
Hariom, Ramesh.
Okay, so we'll stay on mute for a while, and then when I ask questions, we can jump in at any point. Yes. Okay, so to continue, we're looking at concept of when one meets in life the destiny, how one meets it is self-effort. So we saw the interaction of us meeting the world there. Then we looked into how do I master my mind, therefore mastering the world. That if we looked at our interactions in the world, nothing in the world outside I can truly control. It's not within my hands. Who's within my hands? Myself alone. and my own mind is within my hands, and that is the only thing that I can truly control and change. And by changing myself, I am able to change the world around me. So we took that the next step further, called the fundamentals of living, and we saw the 3 most important values that we live by. Just for this class here, what were the 3 values we've been looking at? First one is Satyam. Second one, Brahmacharya. And third one, Ahimsa. These were the 3 values we saw. We saw their definition. We explored their application. And what is that final result? What is the state of mind we have by the end of practicing those values? We saw that last 2 weeks. Now, as I was looking at the next sections in this book, there's a slight transition in thought. We're now no longer just looking at the self. We're now stepping back, broadening our vision, and looking at me in this world now. Me in this world, and more importantly, focusing on how do I balance this interaction? What are the problems that come up when I'm trying to uplift myself, I'm trying to become better, more sthita prajna, I'm stabilized, I'm more, calm and collected. But that's awesome only within my home, in the private space where everything's already calm. I have to now take this primed personality who is trying to practice Satyam, Brahmacharya, Ahimsa, go out into this world and deal with the challenges that are out there. So this is the slight transition in idea, and we'll start to investigate it. Just to give you a sneak peek, the next couple chapter titles we'll look at is Harmony and Poise. How do I maintain this harmony and poise? Then we see Science versus Religion. That's the next topic. Science versus religion. Then, what is religion? What is religion? Then, vitals of a nation. Vitals of a nation. And finally, what is culture? So now you see, we're just glancing at the titles here. What is the direction we're taking it in? I've primed myself, but now I need to have the right approach when going out into the world and dealing with the circumstances that are out there. So when we want to deal with the world, we have to undo some of the, I would say, scientific or secular ways of thinking and be aligned with religion. But then we have to ask how, why, what's the reasoning why I need to realign. We need to go through all of that. Then once I align, I come to understand what is the purpose of religion. Why should I adhere to it? And my favorite part was vitals of a nation. See, we always have to remember where Puja Gurudev came from and in what time period he was dealing with. This was 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, is when he was a freedom fighter, came out of freedom, and he said the nation still needs to learn its independence. We may have physically become free, but upon what shall we stand on to continue our freedom and independence? That's when he went into the Himalayas and said, these sannyasis seem to be leeches upon society. They're hoax, they're hypocrites, they're, hoodwinking us. So he said, I'm going to go expose them. And he went searching for the Himalayas and he discovered gems. He himself called himself as an atheist. He was the creme de la creme of the education system, English and journalism major. With that kind of personality and mindset, he went into the Himalayas saying, what do they have to offer? So he himself had to go and understand science versus religion. What is the purpose of religion? Where does our culture come out of when we practice that religion? And why is it vital for the upliftment of our nation? Now we may feel, okay, it's been 60 years, it's been 70 years. We're kind of settled out of independence. Why does it matter to us anyways? At the end of the day, we are still a citizen of this nation. We are a citizen of the globe, right? What is it? What do they call it? Global citizen now? Especially after COVID. Global citizen. Aren't we all still struggling with some national crisis, some political, turmoil? There's always problems. We're trying to find that stability. So that struggle really never stops. So why is it that when I reframe my mind in accordance to religion, come to believe and practice my culture, I can uplift my nation? What does that national identity actually do for me? So I'm just priming you with these kinds of thought processes that we're going to get into. We'll dig deep into each of those aspects. So we're shifting a little bit in the content we're going to cover. So with this in mind, let's go ahead and open to page 47 in Art of Living. And there's one book in this room right now. If you happen to have Kindle Life or something, we'll make arrangements. While we're reading them up in Kindle Life, you might have to search around for the right chapter we're on. But until then, I'm glad you had the other copy. I can point out exact paragraphs and pages, so we're good to go. So what I'd like us to do now is, as we read paragraphs, I will indicate, go ahead and read. Once you read one paragraph, pass it to the next person. And at some points, I will stop and ask questions, and we'll discuss the topic that's going on. All right? So with that, if you would be able to read just the first paragraph, in the world today, and please use a mic so that others can hear you. In the other center, they can also hear you.
Hari Om, this is the first time I'm coming for this class.
Welcome. No, that's okay. It's not much, but you can go ahead and read.
Impromptu, so
Fair enough. Welcome. We're already going to make you part of this session. So go ahead and read just the first paragraph, in the world today.
In the world today, we're living through an age of confusions and tensions, both within and without us. The external challenges persecute us and render our lives unhappy and sorrow-ridden. The intelligent philosophy of the rishis advises man to live in harmony with the situations in life and steadily work on to meet them with discretion and constant application. When we live thus for a period of time, a subjective poise develops, giving us inward peace and tranquility, which thereafter remains unaffected by external threats and onslaughts.
So in this paragraph, what would you say is the sign of having achieved a life of harmony? So in this paragraph, what is the sign that we have lived in harmony? So, Uncle, since you have the book in front of you, would you be able to pick out the sentence that indicates to us what is the sign that we have lived in a harmonious life?
Rishi advised man to live in a harmony with the situation in the life and steadily work on meet them with discretion and constant application. Right. When we live thus for the period of time, the subjective poise develops, giving us inward peace, tranquility, which thereafter remains unaffected by external threats and onslaughts.
All right. So really, it's that last sentence that indicates to us what that poise is all about. So those qualities are?
Inward peace.
Inward peace.
Tranquility.
Peace, tranquility.
Unaffected by external threats and onslaughts.
Unaffected
by external threats and onslaughts.
Okay. Awesome. I hope, yes, okay. Now, Uncle, since you already have the book now, would you be able to read the next paragraph?
In the outer world of bitter competition and immoral strife, each one of us compelled to battle constantly with the things and beings. Deep within ourselves also, we have become helpless slaves to our own uncontrollable desires and indisciplined thoughts. Thus, a modern man comes to shred and torn asunder between two forces, the objective tension and subjective confusions.
So read that last sentence again, okay. The most one.
Thus, a modern man comes to a shred and thrown asunder between the two forces, objective tension and the subjective confusion.
All right. Would you not say that these two sentences or these two words is pretty comprehensive in identifying why we get confused in how to apply ourselves in the world outside? It's a subjective confusion. So here, there is objective tension and subjective confusion. So there is a constant battle within us. We are helpless slaves to our own uncontrollable desires and indisciplined thoughts. If we were to truly, dig into where that comes from, these are the other two. This is uncontrolled desires and indisciplined thoughts. All right, for the next paragraph, go ahead.
The external threats and challenges are bound to reach us time and again, and none can escape them. Hence, the success and joy in one's life is measured by the extent of control one has over the inner subjective confusions. In our experiences in life, we fall into detestable and distressing environments and circumstances, which provoke and enrage us, and we despair for a solution. Such heart-burning protests and indignation weaken our inner personalities, and this weakness lends strength and might be to the external challenges. In short, instead of braving the challenges, we render ourselves impotent and inefficacious and allow the external challenges to crush and consume us.
All right, so this becomes a really, whenever I read these paragraphs, it always leads to the most important paragraph during these sections. We're now landing on one of those. So, how would you define and measure success? I'm opening this up a little bit broader. How would you define and measure success? So may I have volunteers to answer, and then Chitrakoot, be ready if you have any answers from that side as well. How would you measure or define success? Use the mic first. Thank you.
Being joyous on their own, without depending on anything external.
Okay, so independence. Independence becomes important. What else? One second, before you answer, if you can pass the mic.
Having control over the thoughts.
Control over thoughts. Control over thoughts. From Chitrakoot, is there anyone?
Anyone from Chitrakoot has a question? No,
Has an answer.
Measure of success.
Yes, no? Okay.
Freedom to choose action.
Freedom to choose action. Okay. Freedom to choose.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Achieving the goal.
Achieving the goal.
Achieving the goal.
Achieving goal. Okay. Anyone else from Chitrakoot?
Anyone else from Chitrakoot?
Yeah, achieving one's goals.
We got that one. Anything else?
Achieving the goal.
Okay, go ahead.
I just think to be successful, you should be content with where you are.
Contentment. Okay. Content. All right. Yes.
When the results match the efforts I put towards something.
Okay, interesting. Results match the effort. So,
Like a positive version of that.
okay, good. This particular one, if you don't mind, I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to challenge this answer. Is this true or not true? Can you support it with examples or counterexamples? Results match effort is the measurement of success. Anyone? Mac.
So, no, but in my terms, results match if it makes me happy or not.
Okay, so an added element is if it makes me happy or sad.
Right. I mean,
Interesting.
even if it's not what I wanted? Is it still making me feel happy?
Okay, so now we're, was it contentment?
Contentment, yeah.
So this is not real, like, haha, hoo-hoo, that sort of happy joy. It's whether I'm calm, peaceful, content, satisfied, or, okay. So contentment is really the definition when you say happy, okay. Okay, so okay, so temporary happiness, it's just momentary, whether you value it or not. Did I capture your answer? Okay, all right. Yes, go ahead.
I think it's no, because like it's again dependent on the result, your happiness, right? Okay. So it has to be independent. Whether or not it works out, you should be happy that you did what you had to do and you are happy.
Okay, so that was part of my objection. You did bring up the point, whereas this independence, right? This independence is what we have to think about when it comes to results versus effort. So the thought process I had, and this is just me sharing my 2 cents on this, and I would love to hear your responses after this, is that, remember the treadmill example, or when you're at the airport, there's that speed walkway? The speed walkway is going 2 miles an hour in this direction. And if my effort is in this direction for 1 mile an hour, where am I going? Backwards. So that's my example for saying sometimes, even though you're putting in proper effort, the results may not show it. So now, would you consider that as a failure or a success?
I was actually had that thought when, as a person looking at somebody else,
okay,
you can correlate the results of whatever they did into a successful whatever. Think about careers maybe. Mm-hmm. Well, if I know somebody and I have seen that person for say maybe 10, 15 years, or a child that grows up right in front of you, you see that child be, they put the extra effort to excel or learn. When it's the learning phase, they're putting double the effort. And then that translates into something that they measurable, where they have achieved it or something. And when that matches, it's a sense of joy. Versus if I see a situation where maybe prarabdha came into play and they didn't see that result. They put all that effort, you saw it right in front of your eyes, and it doesn't match. So then that feels like it's not as much of a success. That's where my thought was going. But I agree with this other contradictions to it, saying like, yeah, if you look at it from a very Vedantic standpoint, all of this makes sense. Very real world examples when I'm teaching 11th graders, that needs to match for them.
That is an absolutely good point that you brought up, and this actually helps us transition to the next idea. The last point you made, Amma, was very insightful. There is one way of thinking that we have when it comes to such definitions from a worldly standpoint that we live unconsciously, something we just grew up understanding. Success means I better show results. Success means I better show that 99%, 98% on my exam. Doesn't matter what I had to do to get there.
And you can't speak from these angles to the 11th grader. We have to show them the path. And we have to tell them in some way saying that, hey, put your effort, the result will be good. 1 + 1 should be 2. And then when that result is 1 + 1 is maybe -2, we have to go use that prarabdha and all that. But that's not the way to motivate them right now.
I would argue that that's where our teaching should head towards. So that's what we're actually going to get into right now. So to finish my thought process there was, although we have a certain measurement of success in a worldly manner, after having studied these things, harmonious living is what we're trying to achieve, the Vedantic standpoint of, what are the two forces that are driving us, then trying to understand what is the impact of having uncontrollable desires or indisciplined thoughts, or to make it more relevant for the students is when they're stressed out in school, I would say they're far more stressed out today than we were when we were in school. Now the same resume has to have like 100 different things showing that you're a perfect, well-rounded student. Not only can you sing, you can lead, you can be mathematically, you have to be completely 100%. The problem is they are saying this kind of definition of success is getting so hard to achieve that they slip into depression, anxiety, and just the most extreme cases where they become suicidal at that point. I don't want to be in this race anymore. So it's important for us to actually get away from the worldly level of definition of success and come back to what does true success really mean.
I'm going to put a different aspect into it.
Mm-hmm.
I met somebody. Maybe I'm going on a tangent. I apologize ahead of time. I saw this gentleman. He was like a Padma Bhushan, big award winner, mridangist.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him, he was sitting in a chair like that with his feet up, wearing this, inner shirt, banyan, and having a cup of coffee. Very normal person, right? So unassuming. And then I asked him, like, what does it feel like to get this award? He was rushing back to India to get the award, actually. He was here visiting. And he said, we didn't do anything special. I just did what my guru asked me to do, and I didn't allow myself to waste energy anywhere else. So my thought process would be to, these pressures exist, everything, but if you can identify the energy leaks, this we use even at work. What are those little droplets in your pipe where your leaks are happening? If you stop those leaks, then it becomes easier. So that goes back to your discipline, that goes back to your effort and how you're putting your effort. And that will give you both successes. It will give you this success and that success. So if I want to teach that to like high schoolers, middle schoolers, is to identify that while you're having some kind of control on how you're thinking about these things.
Yes.
To eliminate the stress.
Yes. So there is a lot more components now we have to get into, but that's a good example, right? So now let's keep going. Let's go to the next paragraph here. Now that we have this general idea that success you have in one terms of actual results compared to the efforts that you may put in, but at the same time, how do we accommodate for being independent of our desires and having disciplined thoughts? Why is that also going to contribute towards success? Then all of the other answers are also components to consider when trying to define success. But this is not always easy to practice. So now let's look into what are the obstacles, challenges, and where do we find guidance to address those issues that come up. So that's where we're going to in the next paragraph. Who is my next reader? Okay, the paragraph that starts with, after careful analysis.
So after careful analysis, our weaknesses, the masters in the religious fields advise us to grow in strength and gain mastery over situations in life by living in harmony with them. The life of harmony can be lived by rising above our limited egocentric view of things and happenings and expanding our mind to accommodate a constant awareness of totality of the world, the entirety of mankind, and the vastness and wholesomeness of the universal problems. When this total and consummate perception is developed and maintained, man's individual problems sink into insignificance and absurdity.
All right. So in this paragraph, a very important solution is being offered. So I'm just going to run through the main points in this paragraph so we become clear of what Puja Gurudev is indicating as a solution for whenever we encounter weaknesses or challenges. So he prescribes, one, that the masters of the religious fields advise us to grow in strength and gain mastery of our situation in life by living in harmony with them. So this is our goal, to live in harmony. But how do we do this? He says that we have to, one, rise above the ego. Rise above the ego. And second, to develop a constant awareness of what? Of the vast, total universe. Mankind, entire mankind. Now, the two principles here. It's almost like two sides of the same coin, is it not? That when I drop or let go of my selfish ego perspective, then what am I supposed to focus on? If not this, then what? Then I have to focus on the totality, the vastness of this universe, vastness of the total mankind in its entirety. By doing this, what is the result here? What's going to happen is that in that last sentence, man's individual problem sinks into insignificance. These are the three main points here. Sorry. I'm like managing my board space, so please mind the confusion on the board. But this would be the main principle here. So now let me ask you this. Let's go back into our student mindset. They are these kids that are under high pressure. They are in a school that if you get a 4.0, you're in the top 25%. If you get a 3.99, you're in the second quarter. You're near not even in the halfway cutoff. Resumes, you have to have a perfect, I don't even know what the SAT scores are anymore, like 1800, 2400, I forget what it is, max. In your resume or your college applications, you have to show that you have artistic talents, leadership talents, that you have contributed to the society in some form or the other and have produced some service. High demands, okay? Now, the student is getting overwhelmed, seeing that it is highly competitive, and they're not able to cope. How would you apply rise above the ego, think of the vastness and entirety of mankind, to then make my small problem seem invisible? How would you do that? So think about it. Give it a second. Everyone just think for a second. How would you address this? If you were to have a conversation with that child, or you are that child, how should you shift your thinking in such a way that I'm not overwhelmed by the stress of being there? How would you apply these principles? So give us a second just to think about it. Now, I'd like to hear from somebody who hasn't spoken, and then I'll come back to those at the end. Anyone from this room that would like to share? I'm seeing this side of the room because I'm hearing less from this side. Yeah.
Probably kind of getting them aware of, not just their problem, but that overall everybody is seeing this thing. Telling them that it's not just only you, but also everybody is in that same situation, or you are going through this, everybody is going through that. So that way they'll be aware that it's not only just them, but everyone in that. So probably that one.
But then somebody could argue saying that there's a rise in anxiety, there's a rise in depression, there's a rise in this. Isn't that not the case, that we're seeing overall that everybody's suffering? But that doesn't help us feel better.
True.
So I'm asking you to push that answer a little bit more. What else?
Maybe we should tell them it's not the result that you see, the way, the process that you are doing every day is matters more. So maybe we should say, okay, you are doing good, whatever you are doing, continue to do that. The results is in different way. Do not expect something will happen kind of thing, but you continue to do your process.
Okay. So main point there is focus on your effort. If you did a good job in your effort, let the results be what it is, right? Let the results be. Okay. But it's still not complete. Yes. So go ahead. From Chitrakoot side.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe to help with the communication, because there's an echo, maybe let's not put the...
I listened to the question and repeat it.
Actually, never mind. I changed my mind. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The focus on prayojana over karma phala.
Focus on?
Prayojana versus karma phala.
Okay.
Yes.
Prayojana.
Versus, we focus on prayojana versus karma phala.
Karma, phala. So, phala. Prayojana is effort, phala is results. So again, focusing on which of which, that's the one strategy of doing that. But again, this is one good strategy, and maybe that will help. But there is one element in this answer that we are not incorporating into our strategy. The first one, how do I rise above my ego?
Yes. I was just thinking about the Karma Yoga definition, selfless action dedicated to a higher altar.
Yes. Awesome. So you're bringing that into the definition here, right? That definition of Karma Yoga is selfless action dedicated to a higher altar. Take that principle and apply it. How would you frame that for the child trying to uplift themselves?
Don't worry about the result. You just act and you optimize the time that you have rather than wasting your energy, like we discussed before, on this person did that or somebody else got something. Look at the amount of time you have. Focus on what you want to do and just do it without getting distracted. So that may help them rise above that ego and comparing themselves with others where they lose their energy and hope.
Okay. Still not satisfied completely. I'm back there. Yeah.
So I was about to say, like constant awareness. Whatever actions you're doing, it doesn't have to be like overachieving, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be small things that make a difference to somebody's life. And then you can think differently and put it like, okay, you did this small act which actually made a difference in others' life rather than doing something really hard like everyone else's. Just to put an example, I have some kids in my class who grew their hair for a very long time and they donated it for cancer patients. Very simple act, right? They are not even thinking about that, and then it's a service that they actually did to the mankind.
Okay. May I ask, is there anyone from Chitrakoot still online? They have Okay, fair enough. All right. So, last one, and then we'll move on. Any other side? And then Amma, I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. Amma, would you like to go first, and then go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, it could be a repeat, but focusing on the journey matters than the goal. So I think that will also humble you in the end in case you're not able to achieve the result. But at least you gave your best, you did what you had to do, and whether or not you get that, at least you have the satisfaction that you did everything and you have to be okay with it. I think that would, like, you shouldn't have the ego that, you know what, I did this, so I have to have this. Like, I just thought that.
Fair enough. Last one, go ahead.
I would say, I'm looking at kids, I have 2 kids, right? I would say take a pause. It's okay not to be stressed, or stop if you're not liking it. It's okay not to follow what everybody else is doing, right? Sometimes let it go.
Okay.
You don't need to take it that seriously. Nothing in the world is really very serious. If you don't do that, nothing bad will happen to you.
Honestly, that, if you were to tell that to students, that's heading into some dangerous territory. And Puja Gurudev mentions that. So let's keep our reading. I'm just getting us to keep thinking of the options right now. Let's look at the next paragraph that's in this book. But when he views his problems. So would you like to take on that paragraph?
But when he views his problems from a purely egocentric and individual angle, without this vision of totality, the problems assume exaggerated and enormous proportions and crush him. Such a man is like a musician in an orchestra who chooses to play on his own without falling in line with the general rhythm and melody of the entire orchestra. Hence, to live a life of harmony is to recognize oneself at every moment, to be a member of the entire humanity living in composite universe and merge one's life with the resonant cadence of the whole, bringing about fascinating melody of harmonious existence.
So this first point here, to live in harmony, he expands on that idea here. So he brings the analogy of the orchestra. If you've got the drums doing their own thing, the trumpets doing something else, the flutes on the other side, and suddenly you have this rogue celloist that suddenly stands up and starts playing a solo piece in the middle of an orchestra, everybody's mind is disturbed. Now imagine every single member of that orchestra wants to do their own solo at the same time. What does that music concert sound like at that point? The reason I extend that analogy further is because when we looked at this scenario of competition, that's like everybody trying to have their own solo. I want to outdo the next person next to me. So it only causes more rupture and chaos that does not sound good in that orchestra. But what does he recommend in this paragraph? That such a man is like a musician in orchestra who chooses, the next line. Hence, to live a life of harmony is to recognize oneself at every moment, to be a member of the entire humanity living in a composite universe, and merge one's life with the resonant cadence of the whole, bringing about a fascinating melody of harmonious existence. That last sentence, there was a lot of adjectives, but to live in harmony. Okay, so that's the key here where we're coming around to be a part of the whole. And now I'm going to try to bring together this idea. This attitude of service and karma yoga actually is the essence of playing my part in the whole. Because let's take a look at specifically students. Instead of telling them that you have to get into certain college, you have to have your GPA at a certain level, do whatever it mentally takes to achieve those results. Whether I have to console myself saying I'm putting in my 100%, that's one line of thinking. To say, it's okay to take a pause, I need to gather my energy again and keep going. Have we changed the goal in any manner? Not at all. We're only coping with the methods to reach the same goal. Goal is still 4.0. Goal is still SATs. Goal is still, I need to get into a college. Now, I'm not saying remove that goal. That's not the point. But instead, we look at the why. In the grand scheme of things, if I need to, why am I achieving a 4.0? I want to make sure that when I'm in the schooling system, I become well educated. I don't want to be ignorant. Grand scheme of things. Now it makes sense when I say, okay, let me focus on the effort. Am I learning every day? If I'm not at the same pace as everyone, that's okay. That's not the goal. The goal is, am I learning every day? Now, the next part is the SATs. If I have to get into a school and college, what is the purpose of getting into a college or a career? See, initially, this is where our materialistic mindset comes in. I have to get into the best college because apparently that will get me into the best job that gives me the best high-paying salary. Who is that focused on? Ego. And especially, and more importantly, is based off of desires. Why do I need to have all this money? So that I can enjoy and be happy. That's when I enter into the rat race. Let's reframe that. Change the goal a little bit. What can I do with my life to be a better contributor to the harmony of this universe and this humanity? What part can I play in society that will be of benefit to them? If that's your equation, doesn't our approach entirely change? Okay, then I look at myself and think, what talents and skill sets do I have? Where is the niche that I can find and fit my talents into a service that will benefit them? Then I'm more option. I don't have to go through college. I don't have to Ranjiji. All right. So I don't necessarily have to go to the best of the best. I have to go to college to make sure I get a degree so that these are the pre-qualifications, but I don't need to stress about having to go into, Stanford or Columbia or, have to outbeat the rest of my classmates. A, is there options that I have? I need a degree? Great. Where is the importance? Where is the priority? Is it okay to just get the degree from any local university so that I can move on and actually do the service that I'm supposed to? Where is the importance? Is it in the competition or the ultimate goal of service? So when you start to see, why am I doing all of this in the grand scheme of things, the pressure and gravity over the details start to diminish. I'm okay if everybody tells me that I'm being an idiot and because I don't have a 4.0. I'm okay if colleges reject me saying I'm not an all-rounder. Hey, I don't need to be. But I will do whatever it takes to just get the degree I need, but then I know why I'm working. So if you want to become a teacher, right? Let's say you think that being a teacher is a talent you have and that's some service you can perform, then you explore your options. Fine, find the best schools that you can. And if that doesn't work out, adapt. Find the next college, maybe a training, maybe you need to take an off time, gain some experience. But when you set your sight on this is a service I want to provide, let life come. This is prarabdha. I have to navigate that slowly, but my sight in wanting to serve as a teacher is never lost. That's a much better reason to say I have to compete against my students or classmates. I have to compete with my friends and family. I have to show off that I have this, I have that. That's when the problems come in. Yes, go ahead.
Is it fair to say, tell the children then, have a plan A, then a B and a C, like our Swamiji used to say always?
Yeah.
So that way they have a fallback and they're preparing better?
Yes. In fact, how many times when they apply for colleges, they have the tier A colleges, tier B colleges, and tier C colleges. It's inbuilt. If I don't get into UTA, I'm picking on a recent story I heard. If I don't get into UTA, I have a backup. I'll work until I can get back into that college because what was the purpose of me striving to be in that college? Not for the prestige, not for just the namesake, but maybe there's an opportunity I really want to tap into. They have a good teaching program that they have that I want to get into. Fine, if not now, let me adapt, let me prepare. What else can I do? Take my time. It's not the end of the world if I fail the first time. So this understanding there's a long-term goal, and my purpose is to serve. My purpose is to give. Suddenly things slow down, and not having a 4.0 becomes insignificant. All right, if it's a stepping stone, it's a stepping stone. If that stone doesn't work, I'll find another step to find and keep going. So suddenly we become a little bit more relaxed, and that same competition and materialistic definition of success, I've let go of it. I'm more stable on the inside. Then suddenly contentment, self-control, self-discipline, having samatvam between my efforts versus results I see, they start to sort themselves out. Now, just for the sake of time, I wanted to finish the idea that Puja Gurudev presents here. So I will go ahead and read the last paragraph here. The principle of living in harmony with the external world is not constructed as a life of idle acceptance, unintelligent surrender to challenges confronting us. The apparent harmony seen in the unheroic and impotent adapters to challenging situations is worse than the dullness of death. While the harmony envisaged by our religious masters is the dynamic silence, which is the architect of all creation. This art of practicing harmony is to be applied in the din and roar of the marketplace, where we're heaving and sweating with exertion on the narrow path of uncertain chances in life. Our life in harmony is, I don't know this word, C-O-N-S-O-N-A-N-C. Consensus? Consonance, thank you. In our life in harmony, in consonance with the ampler scheme of the cosmos, brings to our heart an inward peace and poise. When poise is maintained within us, our problems and challenges vanishes, a mist before the rising sun. religion helps us live a life of harmony and gain the poise of personality. Let us follow her precepts, gain self-mastery, lead humanity to success, eternal glory, and peace. So this last paragraph indicates, please don't assume that being peaceful and in harmony with grander vision of life doesn't mean you become in idle acceptance of life or unintelligent surrender to the challenges confronting us. So when you mentioned to pause, right? This is what he was indicating here. Don't give up. There's a difference between fooling ourselves saying I'm only taking a break versus I can't do this challenge, I'm actually giving up.
That was one of the questions from Chitrakuta.
Yes, yes.
Pushing to do your best, will it not turn into complacency?
Can you repeat that on the mic so that we can hear that question very clearly?
Question from Chitrakoot, not pushing to do your best, will it not turn into complacency?
So doing our best is not driven by competition or egotistic drive. That's the key. Doing our best will come from the attitude of wanting to serve in the harmony of life. I want to be a part of this society. I want to contribute. I am not going to stop until I'm able to serve. The attitude is not selfish desires, but selfless desires. So now the drive is selfless desires, and in fact we will become even more dynamic and be able to put in an unlimited source of energy in the same work we were trying to do because we simply shift the source of motivation. So that's that last part here. When he says that while the harmony envisioned by our religious masters is the dynamic silence which is the architect of all creation. The very interesting adjective he uses, dynamic silence which is the architect of all creation. This peacefulness, this harmony has to be brought into the din and roar of the marketplace where there's all this exertion. So, having that poise within while understanding the ampler scheme of the cosmos is the balance that we're striking, and therefore you shall see dynamism. So when we, and Amma, thank you for bringing up that definition of karma yoga, because that is the essence of maintaining energy and effort and enthusiasm while not succumbing to egotistical desires or selfish definitions of success. We have to reframe why we are behaving in the world. So selfless action dedicated to a higher altar I shall change to the word purpose, to a higher purpose. As a student, my purpose is no longer just to become a valedictorian. That's not my purpose anymore. I go to school because I want to develop my skill sets so that when I walk out of school, I can serve this world. If I change that selfish desire to a selfless desire, then I can compete with much more energy. In fact, I don't even realize I'm being so successful because my focus is on this effort and the selfless purpose that both spiritual evolution and materialistic results both come hand in hand. Both are achieved with this attitude. So this is the balance we have to reframe. So although everyone answered this in a good fashion, saying that stay focused on your effort, let go of the results, but really we haven't reframed a result in the first place. The goal itself had to change. That's what I was looking for in all the answers, and I didn't quite get it. But that's okay, that's the process of learning, right? Is the ultimate goal I'm really aiming for actually selfless in nature? That has to be reframed. So this is the bottom line message that we want to take. Then our practices of controlling our desires, having disciplined thoughts, practicing satyam, brahmacharya makes a lot more sense. Then it falls into place. So that's why we zoomed out and started thinking again as to why am I working in this world? Selfless action dedicated to a higher purpose. Am I checking my measurements of success according to that? Okay. So I know today, Chitrakoot, I apologize. I know it was a little wonky. We're still getting used to this. We'll keep improving our connection with that side. We'll try a couple of other things to get Chitrakoot teachers to be involved as well. So I apologize for any inconveniences, or don't give up. We're going to keep working on it. So please do come back next week. And thank you all for coming today. And with that, we'll do closing prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you so much. Hari Om.